mouth is when I'm ocean waves.
Today on Nova Legends podcast, I have new Robinson basketball coach Travis Hess. Coach, this is the first time I'm meeting you. Congratulations and go Rams!
Thank you. I'm really excited.
Yeah. Well, I know a little bit about your background. We can get into more of it. I know you coached at Langley, had great success for many years. Briefly, the coach at South County. I don't think you were there as long as you were at Langley. And I know you got into administration, which sometimes there are rules about coaching and administration. So I think that might be the reason why you stopped coaching for a bit. We can get into that. Is that basically your coaching background, Coach?
That's pretty accurate. Yeah, you hit the nail on the head.
Great. Well, I played at Robinson, as you may know. My sister is in the Hall of Fame at Robinson, and Robinson was great in girls basketball from the get-go. I think we were the first or second state champion ever, with the great Ginger Rouse, who played at NC State. My sister's team won 2 state championships. I mean, Robinson's been great at girls basketball forever. Boys basketball has been a mixed bag. My coach was Bob McKegg at Robinson. Yeah. He was told when he went to Robinson that you can't win there. You can't win at Robinson. What is it about Robinson that the boys teams, they've had some success, but it's been a little up and down, whereas the girls have always been good. Is there something unique about Robinson where the boys teams have a tougher job than the girls teams have?
Man, that is a great question. It's ironic that your coach was Bob McKegg. Bob McKegg was the first guy I ever coached with at Westfield. I came down as an assistant and coached with Bob, who I love to death. So, Brian Nelson won a district championship when he was here. That was a while ago. I coached here for 1 year, 2016, 2017. We had a pretty good team that year. I don't remember what our record was. It was 14-7 or 16-7 or whatever it was. And if Tyler Jones doesn't, I contend, if Tyler Jones doesn't roll his foot in front of Oakton's bench during the regular season, we probably would have played Centerville in the district championship that year. I'm not sure we would have beaten them because they were pretty darn good, but I think we would have gotten there. That being said, it's interesting. I'm not really sure. I do know that I've been coaching my son now for 4 or 5 years in Burke, and after every game, I go up to the best player and I say, "Hey, where do you go to elementary school?" And it very rarely is a Robinson feeder school. But that's something that, I'm passionate about trying to work on. I'm still going to try to coach Burke travel with my son, who will be a 6th grader next year, and get some Robinson kids, excited about basketball. I see my son's friend group, and a lot of them are basketball second kids. And so maybe that's the reason. We've experienced a lot of success in a lot of men's sports at Robinson. Our wrestling team, state champion, Brian Hazard, is tremendous. Our boys lacrosse team, Coach Curran does a great job. And so there's athletes here. It's just finding kids that are basketball first kids and working with them and trying to move in the right direction. And I'm hopeful that we'll be able to do that.
Yeah. As a coach, does it matter if you got a very upscale school like Langley, Robinson, a more middle class school, enormous school, great facilities, very, very well run school, or South County, a new school with brand new facilities? As a basketball coach, does it matter that much about all these things, or does it come down to the kind of kids you have?
I don't think so. I don't think so. It's just about, I think it's, to win district championships. And I was fortunate. I did have good success at Langley. We won 4 straight district championships, and I was fortunate enough to win a district championship at South County. That was a little bit, we were the 7th seed that year and ended up winning the district championship. But I think to win a championship, you have to have 3 things. You have to have talent, you have to have good coaching, and you have to have a little bit of luck. If you have those 3 things, I think that you can have a special team. The district that Robinson is in right now is really, really difficult. You talk about South County, Mike's got it rolling over there. Woodson is, traditionally a very good team. Doug's been there a long time. Got Lake Braddock with Brian Mitras, arguably one of the greatest coaches in the history of the Northern region. And you add in Alexandria City and West Potomac with David Houston. There's just good teams, good players, good coaches. So it's tough, and only one of those teams can win a district championship every year. So it's difficult, that's for sure.
You mentioned that you coached at Robinson 1 year. I read that somewhere, and I'd forgotten about it. Has the school changed? Or have things changed at all since that 1 year you coached at Robinson?
I don't think so. No, I wouldn't say there's been sweeping changes here at Robinson. Our enrollment's down. I'll say that. Robinson, there was a time when Robinson was the biggest school in the Commonwealth of Virginia. That's not the case anymore. Our enrollment is significantly down. It used to be, when you went here, there was how many kids in the sub school? 700?
Yeah, there were 800 per class, sometimes
Right.
1,000, sometimes 600, depends on the year.
Yeah, so like this year we graduated 630-ish. And next year our incoming freshman class is below 600. So if anything has changed, the enrollment is down, I would say.
Yeah, when I was at Robinson, I think 1 year we were the biggest school in the country.
Yeah.
So I think things have changed. Coach, so talk a little bit about your background. I mean, did you play? I'm sure you did. Who'd you play for, and a little bit about your playing career?
I wouldn't describe it as illustrious, that is for sure. I played high school basketball in Lewistown, Pennsylvania. My junior year, we actually lost in the state championship. I played for a guy named Wayne Brookhart, who was a great high school basketball coach. And he's originally from the Danville area. He ended up leaving and going to Pittsburgh a couple years later and coached out in that area. But the year that we went to the state championship, it was through nothing that I did. I actually was injured. And I wasn't really a contributor on that team anyway. But when I had my knee surgery, I went and sat at the end of the bench where the other injured kids go, right? And Coach Brookhart came to me and said, "I want you to sit next to me." And I said, "Why?" And he said, "I really think that you have an idea of what we're trying to do, and I want your advice." And so that really was an eye-opening experience for me. He respected my basketball knowledge, and my basketball knowledge probably superseded my basketball skills. So I played as a senior. I wasn't a starter. I played intramurals in college with my buddies, and I felt like I just had a knack for the coaching of the game. Like I coached when I was in high school. I coached like youth league, church league teams. And then my senior year in high school, I did my student teaching at a school called Central Columbia High School in the Bloomsburg area. I went to Bloomsburg University, and I approached the coach the year before, Tony DeRay, who's a legend in that area. And I said, "I'm going to be student teaching there next year. Is there any way I can help?" And he was gracious enough to let me be on the bench with them. And that's kind of how my coaching career started. Like I said, I came down and was an assistant with Bob McKeag for 3 years, and was fortunate enough to get the job at Langley. Coached there for 8 years and was there at South County for 3, and then Robinson for 1 before I became an assistant principal.
What were some of your most important influences in terms of coaching? Obviously, I'm sure Coach McKeag had an effect on you, but sometimes the effect of your coaching could be someone that you go to camps with, or you watch YouTube videos. Who knows? But what about you? Who's influenced?
Bob was a big influence. I owe him a lot of credit in terms of, he was a Carolina style defense and this terminology and numbering system and how to run a program. I learned from him. And then interestingly enough, when I was at Langley, he talked about different areas or whatever. Fran Fraschilla says it's not about the X's and the O's, it's about the Jimmys and the Joes, right? And so for me, in my 8 years at Langley, we ran something different every single year based on the talent that we had. I will say that the thing that I loved running the most is probably Bill Self 2 game. And that was the offense that I loved the most. And so a lot of what Kansas has done over the years, even though they don't run 2 game anymore because the game has changed, I studied Bill Self and Kansas's program a lot. My first go around at Langley. Bill Engels is a guy that I coached with at South County. He was an assistant of mine, and I learned a lot from him in terms of patience and just adjustments in the game. And he's probably one of the greatest coaches I've ever coached with, and I was fortunate to work with him. And he's just such a good man. So I would say he was a good mentor for me and a good friend as well.
For those who don't know, Bill Engels played at Marshall High School, and I think he won at least 1 regional title at West Potomac. Great coach, great inspirational guy. Now, I guess 7 years has gone by now since you've coached. Has the game changed? I've been out of basketball since 2005 when I stopped officiating, and I didn't pay attention to even pro or college much because my son was playing soccer, and I really became immersed in soccer, which I didn't know anything about. So when I got back into basketball through social media, I was surprised how much the game had changed. The game had changed so much. The big guys are more skilled. Everybody can shoot. The offenses are less structured. The game has just changed. But what about you? Have you seen this evolution? You haven't been away for that long, and you probably you're coaching your son's travel team. Is the game changing? Has your style changed?
I think the game has changed tremendously. I've been out for 6 years, I mean, I alluded to earlier that Kansas doesn't run two game anymore. Bill Self has multiple instructional videos on two game, and that was his bread and butter for years. And now they don't run it, so that gives you an idea of how much the game has changed. The game is dominated by guards, the 3-point line, and bigs that can step out and shoot the three. I mean, you watch the Denver Nuggets. I watch a lot of pro basketball, and you watch the Denver Nuggets. They run so many things through Jokic at the top of the key, like all that zoom action and ghost screens and all those things that they do is through a guy that's 7 feet tall and can shoot the three, right? So the game has definitely changed. The NBA game has changed. It's more global, which I think is great. And a lot of teams now, whereas, Bob McKeag, when I first was hand in the passing lane, no middle drives, right? Now everybody's switching everything 1 through 5 or 1 through 4, depending on if they're big, can step out and guard people. And so you have to change. You have to adapt. And that's one of the things I think I'm looking forward to the most is teaching things I've never taught before. So stretching my comfort zone in terms of the X's and O's is really, really cool. I think that it's something I'm really looking forward to. And so I think you have to adapt. I'd be a fool to come in and do things the way I did 6 years ago. Kids are different too. That everything's different, even post-COVID, just a lot of things. Kids are different. The game is different. It's more space. It's more 3-pointer. I didn't really love the 3-point shot. I would rather have had a layup back then. Now I think you got to live with shooting more threes, because you see that's the successful teams are teams that can knock down the 3-point line. It spreads the floor so much for guys to drive. And I'm going to have to surround myself with people that are knowledgeable about today's game and adapt myself.
Did you get a chance to watch much high school basketball these years, or did you? Obviously, I'm sure you watched college and pro, or at least one of those. Did you get a chance to watch a lot of high school ball during your time?
Honestly, no, I didn't. I think that for me, when I stepped away, I had to convince myself that I didn't want to coach anymore, and the easiest way to do that was to not watch high school basketball. And so I kind of stayed away. I do have admin duties, so I watched. I was at some games. I've kept a far eye on it. I still have friends that I'm close with that I talk to a lot that are still high school coaches, and so I'm not completely blind to what's been going on in the last 6 years in terms of the regions and all of that. But I haven't watched a lot of high school basketball now. I watch predominantly pro basketball.
So have you met the kids for next year's team? Have you got a chance to talk to the kids, and what are some of your expectations and goals for next year?
So we did meet. We met not last Friday, but the Friday before, and I had a parent meeting last week. We talked a lot about, I know it can be trite. We talked a lot about culture and the culture that we want to see. And the expectations for me were really in terms of ensuring that our players are looked at in a positive light in the classroom and in the hallways. And if that happens consistently all the time, then success, I believe, will follow on the court. I have a vision in terms of the direction that I want to take the program. And it was somewhere that we kind of were, I thought we were headed in 2016, 2017. With community service and some of the things that transcend basketball. And it was great. I actually got a message on Facebook from one of the girls' coaches, Noelle, her last name escapes me, starts with a K. I had done pediatric cancer nights where we did the gold laces and raised a ton of money region-wide, both boys and girls. And she reached out to me and said, "Are you going to bring that back?" And I said, "Yes," because that's something that's really important to me, given my daughter's story. And so some of the little things that I think really do matter for a basketball program, more than just basketball itself and wins and losses. I want to get back to taking care of some of those things. And I think that if we do, I'm hopeful that with some of the talented young players that we have, that we can get some wins.
Yeah. What has your daughter's cancer journey meant to your coaching? Are there lessons that you learned from that very difficult time?
Yeah, I've learned that at the end of the day, it's just a game. It's a game that I love very, very much, but I got to see some pretty ugly things that people are dealing with that are much more important and trying than losing a varsity basketball game. I still am very, very competitive. I want to win in everything that I do, including if I'm playing my son in Madden on Xbox. But it definitely grounds you. You know, when I first started coaching, I didn't have kids. And so now I'm 43 years old. I have a 12-year-old and an 11-year-old. And so that changes your perspective on things and the experience that you want your kids to have that you're trying now to give to other players based on having kids. And so I've learned a lot about resilience and, you know, and sense of community in terms of how many people were there for us during a difficult time and how important that really is. So it was a trying time, and it's something that I'm glad is behind us. And but it really drives a lot of the conversations that I have with kids about core values and what matters and giving back to people.
Yeah. What about the rules around administrators who can coach? Now, I've always felt that when we're making people choose between their careers and their ability to make money and to have a better retirement in coaching, we are losing great leaders on the court. I know you can make an argument, well, that they have more time to focus on the broader student population, so therefore it's worth that trade-off. But what about you? What do you think about rules around administration and coaching?
I agree with you. I think that when you're limiting the scope and sequence of who can coach, you're obviously narrowing the talent pool, right? I think that goes without saying. I get it. There's pros. Sitting in a completely different job. I do understand some of the hesitations and the pros and cons. At the end of the day, I'm from Pennsylvania, so in Pennsylvania, every athletic director is the football coach, right? Like that's pretty common practice. And so, you know, it was something that I had to get permission for, and I am grateful that I was able to be granted that permission. And it's going to be a balancing act in terms of my job which 9 to 5, which is very important, and coaching, which is also very important. I think coaches play a very unique role in a kid's life, and sometimes is one of the most important people in a kid's life. So I think it's a very important job, and I'm just really blessed that I'm being given the opportunity to get back into coaching. It means a lot to me.
Yeah. How about the have things changed in terms of being able to attract coaches to the to high school coaching and be able to get the talent? Are we taking care of our coaches when you step back into the coaching ranks? Did you feel like you're giving something else up without being adequately rewarded for so?
You know, that everyone knows that there's not, like, you're not doing it for the money, right? So that's one thing. It's the stipends are not a lot, but I've had a lot of people reach out to me. We put a staff together already. You know, there's some more coursework that you have to take than when I was here before, but I understand some of those things. And so, you know, I think there are men and women that still want to coach kids, and I think that's a good thing. Is it maybe a little harder than it used to be? Yeah, sure. But there are people out there that want to do it. And so I've gotten people, like I said, that have reached out, and we've put a good staff together, and I have a couple more people that I want to meet with to kind of bolster the staff a little bit more. And, you know, people that want to coach high school basketball.
Yeah. Well, last question, Coach. In the movie Hoosiers, when Gene Hackman gets back into coaching, when he first his first game back, he's nervous, and he's sitting there by the door before he opens it, and he goes out into the court, and he has those nerves again. Do you think you're going to be nervous your first time back onto the court for first game?
So yes, I have been stressing about things that I shouldn't be stressing about for being June before basketball season already. But I think one of my assistants, Cliff Kruger, who's a friend of mine, has helped ground me a little bit in that. You know, I'd be lying if I said there hasn't been a little bit of self-doubt. Like, I haven't coached in 6 years. Can I still do it? And you know, I know that I believe in my abilities as a basketball coach. I believe in my ability to reach young people, and I think the X's and O's will follow. I'm always going to have those butterflies in my stomach. I mean, I had butterflies in my stomach coaching my son in the 5th grade championship game against Herndon this year. I told my wife afterward that I was more stressed out about a youth league basketball game than I probably should have been. But yeah, those nerves are always going to be there. If you don't, I'm envious of people that don't have those butterflies. If they say that they don't, they really don't. So I'll be nervous before every game. I know the first game will definitely mean a lot to me. I'm going to try not to get emotional with the kids because I'm really excited to be back. I'm excited. My son is in 6th grade and I'm going to be able to share the experience with him. Like I tried to have him in the gym with me when he was little. He was like 4 and, and so he was a lot to manage while you're having to practice. But for him to be able to come with me now, maybe sit on the bench and be a ball boy, maybe ride the bus and have that experience means a lot to me. And so I'm looking forward to just sharing that with him. But the butterflies are always going to be there and before every single game, and because it's emotional and it's fun. And I'm just looking forward to being back on the court. I mean, I've already got picked out what I want to wear. That's changed. No one wears a suit or shirt and tie anymore. Everyone's going with the quarter zips and the Cole Haan. So I gotta step my wardrobe up for that. But yeah, no, I'll be nervous for sure. The first game, especially.
Well, I promise I won't be one of those Hickory fans in the stands fussing at you the whole game. So well, anyway, Coach, look, I just wish you the best of luck. I'm sure I know Robinson made the right decision. I'm glad you're coming back. We have a proud tradition. I know I talked about how good the girls team is, but I feel like the boys team is in great hands. So I just want to wish you luck. Thanks for doing this. And hopefully we can touch base during the season.
That sounds great. Yeah, TJ does a tremendous job. He's a great coach and an even better man. And I just want to thank you for what you're doing for high school sports. I think it's really important that we have people that are trying to get high school, public school sports out there. I do believe that coaches make a big difference in kids' lives. So thank you for taking the time to kind of give us a platform on social media and to share our stories and experiences. I think it means a lot. So thank you.
Oh, well, you guys do the heavy lifting, and I definitely enjoy it, Coach. But thanks for saying that. So anyway, Coach, well, look, thanks for taking the time on such short notice. Congratulations again, and best of luck this summer, and then into the school year.
I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you.
Okay, Coach, have a good day now.
Take care.
All right.